Hello, my beautiful and handsome Scandalites and Sister Squad. How are you guys doing today? I hope it's well. I feel so much better, y'all. I'm so glad because, baby, now we can get to it. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood Scandals video. Everything in this video is alleged. I am not sure what's true or what's false. I'm just here to take all of the gossip we have from yesteryear and online and tell you guys a story. And today we are going to talk about the sassy, sexy, cool one himself, honey. Yes, child. I'm talking about the purple one, Prince. Let's get to it. Oh yeah, one more thing before we get started. Let me ask the new people to go ahead and like this video, go ahead and subscribe, and click the notification bell so you guys can be alerted when I put new content out. Please do it, honey, because the Scandalites and Says So Squad apparently will jump on me. Prince Rogers Nelson was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota on June 7th, 1958. His mother was a jazz singer and her name was Maite Della Nelson, and his father was a songwriter and a pianist and a singer himself, and his name was John Lewis Nelson. As a matter of fact, Prince's name came from his father's stage name, which was Prince Rogers. Now, Prince's father said he named his son Prince because he wanted his son to do everything that he wanted to do. But Prince himself did not like this name. He was running around telling everybody to call him Skipper. Prince has said before that he was born epileptic and he had plenty of seizures, but he said it all stopped one day when he walked in the room with his mother and he told her, "I am not going to be sick anymore." And his mother proceeded to ask him why, and how do you know this? Prince said, "Because an angel told me so." Now, Prince ended up having 8 siblings in all by the time of his death, but there was only one who was born between his mother and his father, and that was his little sister, Tyga. Now, Prince's early childhood was very happy at first. He loved music, and of course his father had a big piano inside of the house where he would sit and play his music. Now, he wouldn't allow Prince to get on the piano much, but every once in a while he did. At age 7, Prince got on that piano and he created his first song, and that song was called Funk Machine. But the happy times did not last, and actually right after Prince wrote that song, his mother and his father started fussing at each other all the time, and they just could not get over this. So his father ended up leaving the family, and this disturbed Prince very much, but he held out hope that his father would come back home. And then that hope was dashed when at the age of 10, his parents got a divorce. After his father left, it is said that Prince would just sit there looking at the piano. He missed his father so much. And then after a while, he was like, you know what, screw it. If my daddy is not here to play on this piano, I'm about to play on this piano. So that is when he started playing the piano himself all the time, and he started creating his own little songs and own little tunes. He wasn't really serious about anything at this time, but he was definitely honing his skills. And then soon after this, his mother ended up getting remarried to a man named Hayward Baker. And according to Prince, Hayward was a great man to them. He was a good man to his mother. He provided for them. He bought them toys. He pretty much bought them the whole world. But this was not enough for Prince. This did not bring him satisfaction. You know why? Because as much as Hayward was a good provider, he was an emotionally distant man. He was not emotionally available, not really to his wife, and he definitely wasn't emotionally available to the kid. So Prince kind of resented him for that. You know, he kind of disliked him because he felt like, I need somebody to talk to and you're not it. I need a father. So because of this, he was back and forth living with his mother and his stepfather and his father. And one time when he was at his father's house, his father purchased him a guitar. Now here's where we get into a little bit of rumor, a little bit of tea. And Prince at this time is around 12 years old. He's living with his father, and his daddy is coming home from maybe the store or work or somewhere. He gets in the house, he's yelling for Prince. Prince does not answer. He goes to Prince's room and he opens the door. He catches Prince in the bed, like in flagrante, honey, doing the thingy with some female. His daddy gets super upset and kick Prince out of the house. Now, there are 2 versions of this, okay? Because the first version says that Prince was caught with a girl around his age, okay? A teenager. And that his dad was upset because of the lack of respect. You know what I'm saying? You a teenager having sex in your parents' house, like, no sir, you're doing too much. You finna get a beat down, all right? That's the first version. The second version says that it was a grown woman in the bed with 12-year-old Prince, and that his father was upset not because of the lack of respect. He was upset because he was like, you telling me your 12-year-old thing can sit up there and pull a grown woman and I ain't sitting up there pulling nobody? Boy, if you don't get your little light-skinned self and get up out this house. I don't know which version of that is true, but supposedly his daddy came home and caught him with some woman, some girl, kicked his little tail out of the house. This is when Prince moved in with a friend, and this friend's name was Andre Anderson, better known as Andre Simone. While he was living with the Andersons, he attended Central High School, and while he was there, he played basketball, and yes, Dave Chappelle was telling the truth. Prince Littell was very, very good at basketball, okay? But anyways, he played basketball, football, and baseball. Along with attending Central High School and playing all the sports, he also attended Minneapolis Dance Theater. And there he learned how to do ballet. And we ain't talking about no Rudy Pooty hip-hop ballet, nothing like that. He was trained in classical ballet. Prince was a dancer, and a lot of people did not know that. I mean, they knew that the guy could dance and shake his rump and doing all this mess and all that kind of stuff. They knew he can do that, but they did not know he was a classically trained dancer. He was. Now, while Prince was living in Andre's basement, he wrote a lot of songs and he worked very hard. But again, this is not the only thing that he was doing. Child, y'all know if he was getting freaky at his daddy's house, he had to be getting freaky in this friend's basement. And he definitely was. They said Prince was bringing down female after female after female because he feels like it's Andre's basement. We can do whatever we want. And there are quite a few tales that said that they did do whatever they wanted to do with whomever they wanted to do. But then there's this one particular rumor says that Prince had one of his female girlfriends or female friends down there and they were doing it up. I mean, I guess she was riding them or something, honey. I don't know. But while this was happening, Prince was supposed to be in school. So Andre's mama was upstairs and I guess she heard some noises and moaning sounds coming from the basement. Child, she cracked open that basement door and then crept down them stairs, and all she saw was Prince with this girl doing what they had to do. She cracked that belt she had in her hand and she tore Prince's behind up. They said she whooped his tail real good. One of his friends, a guy by the name of Pepe Willie or PP Willie, I don't know how to say his name. He was there and he said he watched Prince get this whooping. And he said that she told Prince look behind up. But the sad thing about this though is that Prince obviously does whatever he wants to do. So I'm pretty sure after this whooping, he probably called that girl later on that night, honey, and told her, hey, sweetie, let's do it again tomorrow. After a while though, he did start messing with the girls less and less and started working on his music more and more. He even started making demos, and at first they didn't get him anywhere, but eventually those demos, all that hard work, all that practicing did pay off because he ended up signing with Warner Brothers. After he signed, he left Minnesota and moved to Sausalito, California. And that is where he released his first album, and it was called For You. And this album didn't like skyrocket up the charts or anything like that. It didn't really do that well, but one song on the album did pretty well, and that song was called Soft and Wet. And it reached number 12 on the Hot Soul single and number 92 on the Billboard Hot 100. After the album didn't do as well as they liked, Prince was unfazed. He and Andre Simone and a few others pushed on. And soon Prince created a full band and they started putting on shows. And what they wanted to do with these shows is of course generate sales and get an audience, but they also wanted to put on a good show for Warner Brothers so Warner Brothers could be like, maybe we should back a tour. You know, even though the record sales didn't do that good, maybe we should put money into a tour for this young man because his shows are really good. But turns out Warner Brothers felt like, no, thank you for inviting us to this show, but you really need to develop your sound more. And Prince said, cool, I got you, it's nothing. October 1979, honey, he released a single that was a smash, and that was called I Wanna Be Your Lover. And I feel like with this song, Prince was telling Warner Brothers, don't do me, sir. Do not do me like I can't make good music. Y'all sitting up there acting like y'all don't want to put no money on me. Don't want to see me touring around the world. Like, what's wrong with you, baby? The song was a smash hit. Sold over 1 million copies. Stayed number 1 for 2 weeks. Prince had it going on. And then he followed up this album with a third album, and this album was called Dirty Mind. And child, while Prince was writing some of them songs, he definitely had a dirty mind. Because there's a song on there called Sister, and woo, child, it's like an incest type of song. They say the song is based on Prince and his older half sister. So if you are to believe that, then you would believe the rumor that Prince was molested by his older half sister, and he grew up and sang about it in this song. Y'all just gotta listen to it. The lyrics are ridiculous. It also includes a song called Head, and that song is scandalous as well. Another song on the album called Uptown did very well, and it reached number 5 on the chart. And the success of this song, along with the success of I Wanna Be Your Lover, puts Prince on a tour with Rick James. And no, I am not going to go into this all over again. I will say this: Prince and Rick James did not get along during that tour. If you guys want to hear more about that, please go watch my Rick James video, and I kind of delve into it there. But there wasn't really much to find on Prince's side of the story anyway, so I'm not going to repeat the same story that I told in the Rick James video. In 1981, Prince formed another band, and this band was called The Time. But Prince did not sing as a frontman to this band. It was actually led by a guy named Morris Day. And then in 1982, Prince released his next album, and this album was called 1999. And this album was a smash hit because it included the songs 1999 as well as Little Red Corvette, and they were both international hits. Everybody loved those songs. He became the second African American to be aired on MTV alongside Michael Jackson. White people loved Little Red Corvette. Now, we have made it to this part of the story where Prince is now famous. I mean, you know, he's not in the stratosphere yet. That does not happen until Purple Rain, but we know what's coming after this. So let's go ahead and get to the tea. And this first bit of tea is actually about a song from the Purple Rain album and the Purple Rain film. And this song is called Darling Nikki. And this story involves aspiring First Lady Tipper Gore and her daughter Karina. And child, I guess one day Tipper Gore was like walking around her house doing laundry, doing chores or something, honey. She heard a song coming from her daughter Karina's room, and this song is talking about this girl named Nikki being a sex fiend, you know, and she'll give you a good time. So Tipper is like, I know I don't hear what I think I hear. And honey, she get a little bit closer to that door, and she definitely hears what she thinks she hears. So she bursts into the room and she like, Karina, what are you listening to? What is this mess? And Karina's like, Mommy, it's Prince. So Tipper has a complete breakdown. Child, she go to the government, she go everywhere, baby. And she wants them to put a parental advisory on these songs, because had she known that Prince was going to be singing about this, she would have never bought her daughter the album. Prince Lil Purple Tail is the reason for the parental advisory warning explicit lyrics sticker that you see on all the albums and CDs. Now this next rumor is about to get a little messy, honey. And I mean messy for real. And some of y'all finna get mad, but baby, I'm finna tell you what it is. It's claimed that once Prince signed with Warner Brothers, like he tried to act like he wasn't black. He tried to act like he was mixed race, you know, and he actually told Warner Brothers, hey, don't make me black. He said, my idols are all over the place, so I do not want you to make me black. That's not what I am. Honestly, I understand what he's saying with that. He's saying that he doesn't want his music boxed in to just be called black music. I get that, but if the rumor is true that he was like, you know, I'm not black, I'm mixed, I don't know about that. I don't judge anybody for doing that. If you don't want to be black, that's on you. I'm not going to get mad, whatever, because I'm not forcing nobody to be my beautiful black color. I'm not going to force you to be that. If you don't want to be that, that's cool. It's just the fact that it caught me by surprise, because I had no idea that Prince was rumored to have said something like this. And it may not be true, but the rumor is out there. As a matter of fact, the rumor was out there back then because Rick James took this rumor and he ran with it. And he told everybody that he didn't care for Prince because Prince didn't want to be black. In fact, Rick James did an interview in which he referred to Prince. And when he was talking about Prince, he said he doesn't want to be black. My job is to keep reality over this little science fiction creep. And if he doesn't like that, he can kiss my A. And we all know that Rick James already didn't like Prince. So, child, he used this to throw in Prince's face every chance he could get. And this is not the only time some people got offended when it came to race and Prince. And we'll get to that with another rumor on down the line. Now, when Prince became successful and blew up, it is well known that he became a legit diva. And he had a lot of antics, and his attitude was straight nasty. Now, it wasn't like that with everybody, but when it came to his staff and the people that worked for him, and sometimes his fans, his attitude was a little nasty. But I tell you what though, it don't matter how much of an attitude he had, honey, the women was still all up on him. Let's get to some of them. And this is just some, because believe me, there was a whole heap of them, okay? But I want to shine the light on this few. There was Kim Basinger, there was Madonna, There was Vanity, Jill Jones, Sheila E., Carmen Electra, Susanna Melvoin, Sherilyn Fenn, and Nona Gay. And speaking of Kim Basinger, there's a rumor out about her and Prince. He recorded the way that she moaned and he put it in a song. I don't know what song this is, but somewhere out in the world, there's a song playing, and every time it plays, Kim Basinger is moaning in that song. And let me add this in right here too. I don't know the timeline on which girls he dated first, so I'm sorry if this is all confused and all over the place, but I don't know the timeline of who came first. I do know though, the next person that I want to talk about that he dated is Vanity. While I don't know too much about their relationship, I do know that it is reported that Vanity truly, deeply loved Prince with everything in her. And Prince repaid this love by cheating on her day in and day out. And it really, really hurt her. But she stayed and she stuck with him. She wanted to stay with him so much that she used to get upset with him because he would not give her time. You know, they never really had quality time together as a couple because Prince was always working. And Vanity looked over this as well. As long as she had her Prince, she was okay. And a lot of people don't know this, but Vanity was supposed to star in Purple Rain with Prince. And child, gossip says that Vanity thought she was all that because of this. And this was one of the reasons she stayed, because she felt like, yeah, y'all sleeping with him, y'all messing with him, but look who finna be in the movie with him, baby, Miss Vanity. Then, honey, she got to talking to Prince about the movie, you know, talking about her part, talking about her lines, and somehow they started talking about pay. Baby, Vanity asked Prince how much she was making. Child, that man told her $5,000. And Vanity turned into insanity. And she was like, baby, I know you lying. And Prince was like, no, I'm not lying. You only getting $5,000. And Vanity was like, no, sir. I done sat up there. I dealt with you cheating on me. I dealt with you not having enough time for me. But those two on top of this, and it ain't no telling how much you making. And Prince was like, $5,000, take it or leave it. And Vanity was like, I leave it. Baby, I leave it. I'm leaving Purple Rain, and I'm leaving your little purple self too. And child, she shot the deuces and was gone. The whole story was rumor, but the rumor don't stop there. It is said that after Vanity left, Prince tried to act like, you know, it didn't bother him none. You know, he didn't care too much. But obviously it had to bother him a little bit, because rumor also says that when he saw her years later at some type of award show or something like that, he handed her a piece of paper with a note on it. When she read it, the note gonna say, so you want to be with all these men? Well, go ahead. Just remember, can't none of them do it like Prince. Boy, please. I mean, I know Prince probably got his way and stuff like that, and he's probably good at what he does, but you still was out here cheating. So obviously she wasn't missing too much. And on top of that rumor is stacked another rumor. Vanity's departure from Purple Rain and her departure from Prince and the relationship bothered him tremendously. His feelings were hurt, his spirit was hurt. And his brother Dwayne saw this hurt in him and thought, what can I do to make my brother feel better? And allegedly that is when he went to get pain pills to make Prince feel better. And supposedly this is when Prince started the drug. Let's go to another woman that he dated. This is Nona Gay. He pumped up Nona Gay's head, telling her he loved her. He wanted to marry her. She was the best thing since sliced bread, pretty much. And then child was cheating on her as well the whole time. Gossip says that Nona Gay even got pregnant and that Prince told her he did not want the baby and he forced her to have an abortion. Moving on. His security detail said that Prince used to have ladies, random women, groupies pretty much, lined up in his house, just basically waiting for a chance to go up in the bedroom with him. And so the security guard used to, you know, say, hey, how you doing to the women and stuff like that. Baby, that security guard said one day Dwayne, Prince's brother, walked his tail down the hall and told that security guard, listen, Prince knows that you're talking to his women and he don't like that. So please stop talking to the women. And the security guard basically had to get hush mouth because Prince said those was his women, baby. Now let's get real petty. The security guard said that Prince had a great sized member, that it was pretty big and that it looked like it did not fit on his body. I know that's pretty petty, but that's part of the rumors. And I actually think it's pretty funny that the security guard supposedly said this because it's also said that Carmen Electra said the total opposite. She said that Prince was very small, but a lot of people feel like that she was lying because Prince basically cheated on her and dumped her. And there's a story talking about just how mad she was. She was so mad at Prince for cheating on her, she allegedly went to dinner and slept with another man while she and Prince were dating took the used condom off of that man and sent it in a gift box to Prince to let him know, I'm cheating too, sir. And since we are on Prince's relationships, we may as well get to one of the messiest of all, the relationship he had with his first wife, Maite Garcia. But it seems like her mother was a lot like Janice Gay's mother as far as like pushing her daughter onto celebrities to see what they can get. It does seem very similar to that situation. And I say this because Maite was 16 years old when she met Prince, and the way she met him was by going to a concert. Her mother took her. But this is not where just like a mother is just taking their daughter to the concert to enjoy themselves. Oh no, Maite was a dancer, you see. So her mother made sure that she had done some sort of dance routine and had recorded herself and had herself on tape. Therefore, when they got to the concert, her mother was sure to give her dancing tape to a backup singer or maybe a stagehand. I don't know who it was, but whoever the person was, they gave the tape to Prince. He watched the tape. Then later on, that same person that handed the tape to Prince came back and told Maite and her mother that Prince would like to speak to Maite. And so he does. I believe that she goes backstage and they start to have a conversation. And during this conversation, Prince tells her, I love the way you dance. Are you really 16? And Maite says yes. And they converse about a few more things. And by the end of the night, he tells her, hey, here's my number, or he asked her for her number. Either way it goes, somebody has somebody's number to keep in contact. And it seems like the night would end right there with them exchanging numbers. But honey, that is not the end of this night. They actually went back to the hotel together. She came up to Prince's room. Her chaperone was there, her mother, her sister, somebody was there. And they stayed for a while, but they ended up leaving. So they leave the 16-year-old Maite in there with Prince, who is a grown man at this time. But Maite says that nothing happened. They just pretty much laughed and talked and like ate popcorn and did things like that. It was more like a teen slumber party. It was nothing like lovers per Maite. Now, after they spent the night together in this hotel, allegedly the next day, Maite was there standing outside of the tour bus when Prince leaves, and he points to her and he tells people around him that that is the girl I'm going to marry. And after he drove away, he could not get her off of his mind, so they spoke on the phone all the time. He told her about the music that he had not released. They shared amazing conversations. And while he was talking to her, things apparently became very flirtatious because he told her during one of these phone conversations, I love the fact that you're a virgin. You know, all of the other girls I talk to, oh, they're so jealous of you because you're a virgin, you're pure. Soon, talking on the phone was not enough for Prince. He wanted Maite to come and be with him as a backup dancer. He wanted her to officially work for him. But they ran into a problem. Maite's mother and father were always busy. I think her father was traveling and working or something like that. And her mother, I'm not sure what she had going on. All I can tell you is that her parents were busy. They did not have time to basically pick up and move and travel with Maite so she could dance for Prince. So they come up with a solution. They sign legal guardianship over to Prince. He becomes Maite's legal guardian, and she is 17 years old at this time. After Prince becomes her legal guardian, she moves over with him, not into the house with him, but he gets her an apartment. And I'm not sure if he's paying all the bills at this apartment or if she is paying the bills with the money that he gives her as a paycheck, because remember, she is now working for him as a dancer. Now, I want to make this clear. Prince was only a legal guardian to Maite for about 6 months, okay? She was 17 at the time, but 6 months later, she became 18. And this made her legally an adult. And after she turned 18 and became an adult, she and Prince started a sexual relationship. Prince was supposedly, at the time, dating Carmen Electra. So that means he was cheating on Carmen Electra with Maite. And he ended up falling deeply in love with Maite and becoming very, very serious about her. Much more serious about her than he was about Carmen. So he dumped Carmen fully for Maite, and they became an exclusive couple. She also became the main female dancer for his shows. You know, she was like the featured dancer. But if Maite thought that she was finna get extra special treatment or something like that just because she was dating the boss, baby, she was dead wrong. In fact, some people say that because they were dating, this made him treat her worse than some of the staff. And I say the word worse, but I probably shouldn't say worse. I guess I should say he was more focused on her messing up or focused on what she was doing more than the other staff. And the thing with dating Prince is that he was a full-blown perfectionist. Also, his ego was like out to here, so he lived by a different code than everybody else. So dating him was really quite difficult. For instance, it is rumored that he would pick out Maite's clothes and let her know what she could and could not wear. It's also said that if she wore sweatpants to rehearsals, he wasn't having that. He wanted her to change and put on something sexy or something that a dancer would wear on stage. For some strange reason, she was not allowed to call him on the phone. So if she was missing him or she had a question for him or something, tough luck. She couldn't pick up the phone and call him and be like, hey, Prince, blah, blah, blah. She couldn't do that. She had to wait until he called her. Baby, they even said that he judged what she ate. Basically would not let her eat just what she wanted to eat because he wanted to make sure that she kept her body tight and right and that she kept her dancer's figure. And one time they said that he did catch her with some kind of sweets around her or something. You know, some folks say that it wasn't even her sweets, child, but he caught her with them and he like cut her pay. But I know one thing, that's going too far because if I'm out there power dancing and kicking and doing tabo and stuff like that on stage, you need to pay me all my money, sir. That's not even the weirdest thing. Prince had a hair salon inside of his house. But child, when Maite tried to put her little foot in their hair salon, Prince told her to get her skippy scooped up head and get on out of there and go to a public salon because that salon in the house was specifically reserved for him and him only. Now y'all are probably laughing about Maite's scooped up hair right about now, but I want to make it clear that at this point in time, Maite and Prince have only been dating. They did not get married until 1996, and at this point, Maite was 22 years old and Prince was 37. And it wasn't a few weeks after they got married that Maite became pregnant. And people say that Maite and Prince were very excited to become parents. But a little further along in the pregnancy, Maite started bleeding and she did not know why. And when she went to the doctor, she and Prince were informed that the baby might have some sort of case of dwarfism. And Maite says that she and Prince basically laughed at this. You know, they were like, is that all? Like, we don't care if our child is a dwarf. We're going to love him anyway. But the thing is, I don't think the doctor believed that that was all. I think the doctor felt like, listen, there's really something wrong with your child. And the reason I feel like the doctor felt like this, whether he said so or not, is because the doctor wanted to do a test while the baby was still inside of Maite to check to see what type of abnormalities this child had, if any. And I believe Maite was cool with it, but Prince was like, no, you are not putting your hands anywhere near my wife's belly to test our child. You're not going to do this. And he told Maite, everything will be fine. Let's just pray about it. And so that is the route that the couple went. Maite did not bleed anymore. They prayed about it and they felt like everything was fine. And then in October 1996, Maite was rushed to the hospital to give birth to their child. And so when they get to the delivery room, the doctors begin performing a cesarean section and they pull the baby from her womb. And Prince is sitting there smiling and he's waiting, but he does not hear the baby cry. So Prince says, why is he not crying? And by this time, the nurses, the doctors, everybody is just working on the baby, you know, basically trying to get the baby to cry. And I guess once they turned around, both Maite and Prince got a view of what their baby looked like, and what they saw was completely heartbreaking. And Maite described this by saying the baby's head was shaped like a clover leaf. He was born without eyelids. His eyes were born popped like outside of their socket. The baby had webbed feet and webbed hands. The baby looked a lot like the picture that I'm putting up now because the baby had Pfeiffer syndrome type 2. Now the baby, which was a boy that Prince and Maite named Amir, although the public did not know this at first, he lived for only 6 days. On the 5th day, I believe, Maite said something to the effect of Prince coming to her and telling her, we have to let him go. So they both signed papers for the baby to be taken off the life support that he had, and he died that next day. Now we're finna get kind of messy, and this tea right here is really messy because rumors say that Prince was heartbroken. But it's not necessarily because he lost his son. I mean, that played a part in it too. But really, he was heartbroken because he was in disbelief that his son was not perfect. He could not believe that something deformed came from him. A person that was a perfectionist, a person that did everything right, a person that made sure to look his best all the time. How could he make a deformed child? he felt like it was Maite's fault and that something was wrong with her. Something has to be messed up about her, which made our son born this way. Back to baby Amir. Soon after the child died, news leaked out to the public that Prince had a child that passed away. But instead of Prince coming out and saying, yes, I did have a son, he passed away, Prince acted really strange about the situation. First things first, he denied, or better yet, just did not respond to the rumors at all. He was on an interview with BRYANT GUMBEL where BRYANT was asking him about the baby. We're concerned about the baby's health. How's the baby doing? And Prince gives him some type of off-the-wall answer about how our thoughts turn into actions and how we believe that the thing that happened is supposed to happen. And whatever the case, it was like he was running all around the subject, and he would not admit that they had lost their child. He was actively letting people believe that his child was alive. Now, he was acting like there might have been something wrong with the child, or the child may have been sick, but Prince was acting like this child was alive, and so that is what the public believed. So imagine everybody's terror and how everybody got creeped out when they found out later on that Amir had been dead for at least 2 months by the time this interview happened. And the way they found this information out was a scandalous thing, child. Let me tell you all about it. So Prince and Maite hired 2 nannies for baby Amir. Their names are Erlene and Arlene Mojica. And these nannies are watching as Prince and Maite go and do these interviews, acting like baby Amir is alive and resting in his crib. And they are horrified and very disturbed at this because they know, obviously, that this baby is deceased. And so watching this gives them a very bad taste in their mouth. They are feeling bad about this whole ordeal. They're having nightmares. It's just not sitting well in their spirit. So they contact the authorities, and they tell the authorities a story that pretty much sends shivers down the people's spine, because what they tell them is that they cared for baby Amir. They held him, comforted him, cared for him for 7 days, and then the baby passed away. They took the baby to be cremated, and then they falsified records to cover up this baby's death. And they said they did this at Prince's request. And when they come to the authorities with this story, the authorities open up an investigation. Of course, sooner or later, the media gets a hold to these details, and they let the public know. And they are astounded because people believe that this baby was alive. So to know that this baby had been deceased the whole time, and then to hear these details about Prince trying to cover up the death, and it was just a lot. Some of the public were not only outraged by the cover up of this baby, they were also upset because of the alias information about this child. They found out that the hospital records called this baby boy Gregory, but that is not what upset them. What upset them is that the child's race was listed as white. So once again, it seems like Prince is trying to shy away from his black race. But personally, on this subject, I just think that Prince was trying to do everything in his power to not let people know that this was his child. I don't think it was something internal with him where he wanted the baby to be white. I just don't believe that. I just believe that he was really trying to protect this child's identity and not let the public know that this was his child. Now back to this investigation. I do know that homicide was involved with the investigation. Maite and Prince were never charged with anything, so I suppose everything worked out okay with that. Maite did become pregnant again, and this is the pregnancy I was telling you about earlier where it ended in miscarriage. And when she told Prince about the miscarriage, he was pretty much indifferent. He had checked out. And this was bad for Maite because after the miscarriage, she was still bleeding. In fact, she was bleeding for a while. So she told Prince about this as well. Again, he acted like he was indifferent. So she told him, I do need to go to the hospital. I need to get this checked out because there's a lining that they need to remove, which is true. After a lady miscarries, there's other things that have to be removed from her body that were there with the baby. If not, the lady can get really, really sick. And this is what was happening to Maite. But she claims when she told Prince about it, he told her like, no, you cannot go to the hospital because that's against my religion. But child, Maite was like, baby, I'm not gonna sit up here and die because of your religion. So she went to the hospital anyway, and they did whatever procedure they needed to do. And after this, I mean, clearly their marriage was over. I mean, they were not even roommates at this time. They were almost like strangers in their home. So they divorced in the year 2000. Maite did say that after the divorce, she heard from Prince's assistant, Prince burned everything that reminded him of her and Amir. It's even said that he took Amir's ashes and burned them, which to me that sounds a little bit stupid. How do you burn ashes? Like, that's just gonna be more ashes. And I want to make absolute clear that everything that I just told you about Maite's and Prince's relationship came mostly from her side, from her mouth. Prince never once said anything about her relationship to anybody as far as I can see. And because this is the case, a lot of Prince's fans feel like she lied. They feel like she made a lot of this stuff up. You know, they felt like, you saying all this about Prince, but what all do you got going on? And because they felt like she lied on Prince, a lot of them started digging into Maite's past. The rumor that stuck out to me is the one about Maite and Wade Robinson sleeping together, messing around with each other. Wade Robinson is the person that accused Michael Jackson of molesting him. Apparently, Wade Robinson, once he was dating Maite, took her to Michael Jackson's house to show Michael Jackson, like, hey, Michael, I'm so cool with you. I know how much you can't stand Prince. Well, look right here. I'm banging his ex. That's how they said Wade Robinson was trying to present Maite. But they said that Michael Jackson looked at this and was like, you know what, Wade, you petty. This is messy. I don't want to be a part of this. Get her out of my house. Prince's fans also claim that Maite always talks about Prince, and she does this for money. They have said multiple times that Maite never tells a whole story at once. She'll say things and then she'll come back 5-10 years later and be like, oh yeah, hold on, let me tell you about this as well. Pretty much like she's run out of money, so let me bring up another detail about Prince. After Prince is done with Maite, he does get with Manuela, but he also becomes a practicing Jehovah's Witness at this time. I mean, he's actually knocking on people's doors trying to tell them about the good news. And guys, from here on out, it's kind of hard for me to follow a timeline. It's almost impossible to say, oh, this happened this year, this happened this year with Prince's life, because he was just so private. All I can really do with the rest of this video is just give you tea and gossip, but basically do it as bullet points. The first tea drop is a story about Prince's unreleased album called The Black Album. He had worked his behind off on an album, then right before the release date, he snatched it back and he would not release the album. He gave his reason as being a bad trip on ecstasy. He was high out of his mind, and after he did the ecstasy, he felt like he was going to release evil on the world if he put out this album. Like, he just could not do it because he wanted to save mankind. But honey, some folks in the know said it ain't had nothing to do with no bad ecstasy trip. They said that Prince did not want to put that album out because he was scared that album was going to flop. Here is a story regarding Prince's antics when it came to his workers. He was known to fire people for making eye contact with him. It is also said he would be flanked by bodyguards walking the halls of his own home. Now we get into a little gossip involving him and Michael Jackson. They did not really get along with each other. His sound engineer, David Z, told a story about how Michael Jackson and Prince were playing ping pong against each other. And they're just kind of hitting the ball, and Prince asked Michael, you want me to slam it? You want me to slam the ball? And Michael kind of just doesn't answer, but Prince does it anyway. He hits the ball hard and slams it, and Michael is like, ow! And covers his face, scared that he's gonna get hit by the ping pong ball. And then after that, he drops the ping pong paddle and he gets with his bodyguards and he just walks out. He doesn't even say another word. And Prince is walking around like, you saw that? You saw how I did him, man? Look at him, he was playing like Helen Keller. And this next rumor is a rumor to show how Prince did whatever he wanted to do. So he rented a house from an NBA star called Carlos Boozer. And everybody knows when you're renting a house, unless you get specific approval from the owner, you cannot go in there and just change things in this house. Child, Prince didn't care nothing about that. Prince changed the front gate to this man's house and turned it into the Prince sign, honey. He changed the master bedroom into a hair salon. He changed the blue waters that was in the fountains all over the house to purple water. He knocked out walls in the house. He changed the molding on the ceiling. He pretty much changed this man's whole house, child. They said Carlos Boozer was livid and that he actually wanted to fight Prince. You know, Prince wasn't worried about that. He told his security guard or somebody on his team, here, give him this check for $1 million. He'll be all right. And Carlos Boozer took the check. When given the reason on why Prince acted the way he did and why he had a bad attitude and just why he did all of these antics, I think it was somebody at Warner Brothers. He said that Prince was not used to being told no. Everybody always said yes to him. And when somebody told him no or stood up to him, he just could not take that, and his attitude turned terrible. There's this one rumor about him having a video vixen that was gonna be in one of his videos, and he was giving her some advice. And I guess she was just acting regular and just said okay, and she wasn't like, oh, thank you so much, Prince, blah, blah, blah. Child, she didn't show enough awe and adoration for him, and he called her a stupid bee in front of everybody. Everybody on the video said. And then there's this rumor about a show that he was supposed to do in 2011. They wanted to sell out the tickets first. They told him that they would pay him after they sold out the tickets, and Prince was like, no, I want my money up front. And they were like, please, Prince, do this for us. Don't you know that when it came time for Prince to perform, he went and sat in his car and just sat there the whole night, child? He did not walk on that stage because he said they did not have his money when he asked for it, which is kind of petty because he was already a millionaire, but still, business is business. If you told that man you were gonna pay him up front, don't change it when he get there. We are getting close to the end of this video, and I'm not sure if anybody learned anything new or not. I don't know, but I did as best as I could because Prince was a notoriously private man, and there's really not that much information that people have spilled about his life. However, this next rumor, which is the last rumor that we are about to get into, is very, very sinister. Throughout all of these years that Prince was in the spotlight, he kept his drug use a secret for years. He actually acted like he was a man that had no drink or drugs in his system ever, like he was a teetotaler. When in reality, it is rumored that he used to mess around with drugs heavily. It is said that Prince overdosed about 3 or 4 times in his life. And if this is true, if Prince was a drug user most of his adult life, I believe that he kept this a secret and acted like he was a sober person because he didn't want it to be true. Prince thought of himself as perfection. Everything he did, everything he was, his style, the way he wore his makeup. And I think the drug use part of him was something that he had to face that was not perfect. It let him know that this is not the purple god immortal that he thought he was. But now let's get to the reasoning for these drugs. I told you about the story of Vanity and his brother Dwayne giving him painkillers. Some people say this is true. This is what happened. Other people say that Prince got hooked on drugs because he had to numb himself because Prince started getting into some really, really wicked things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I couldn't tell you the details of all this, but there are a lot of rumors out there that Prince basically dealt with witchcraft. Like he would put symbolism in his videos, and he was using some sort of drum machine or some sort of music machine that would emit like evil sounds or something like that and would like make his music go off the charts. Pretty much like he was selling his soul in order to lead others to some type of destruction or something like that. And this is believable to some people because his bodyguard also said that while he was working for Prince, he saw Prince running around high naked, running around this house just high and naked, just shouting out, singing, acting crazy. All I know is that Prince was a musical genius. He made great hits and he did what he needed to do music-wise while he was here on this earth. Back to the drugs and everything. However he got on them, whyever he got on them, it all came to a head on April the 21st, 2016. But before we can understand what happened that day, we have to go a few days back to April the 7th. April the 7th is when Prince claimed that he had influenza and he postponed 2 of his shows at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. He also saw a doctor on that same day, a doctor by the name of Michael T. Schulenberg. He goes back to the Fox Theater on April the 14th, and that is when he performs his 2 shows. However, he tells the crowd and everybody else that he is still not feeling well. He boards a plane the next morning on April 15th and he's going back to Minnesota. While he is on the plane, he becomes unresponsive. The plane, which was actually a private jet, made an emergency landing in Moline, Illinois, where Prince was rushed to the hospital where they gave him Narcan. And Narcan, if you guys do not know, is to revive someone after they have had a opioid overdose. The Narcan did indeed revive Prince, and after it revived him, he wanted to go. The doctors in the hospital advised him to stay, but he left against their orders. April the 16th, Prince is seen bicycling around his hometown, a city called Chanhassen. He also went and bought some records from a record store, and when he got back to Paisley Park, he went into the studio side of it and he started dancing at some type of dance party with the people that were there in the studio. On April the 17th and 18th, apparently Prince is telling people that he feels fine. And then on April the 19th, he attended a jazz performance. Then on April 20th, Prince's team contacted a man named Howard Cornfield, who was an addiction specialist and a pain management specialist, and they told him that Prince needed his help. So he was like, okay, I'll fly out. Let's set up a date for me to see Prince. The date that was set up was 2 days from the 20th, April the 22nd. Then April the 21st arrives, and at 9:43, the police get a call, and it is an emergency situation. Prince is unresponsive. The emergency services get there and they pronounce Prince dead at 10:07 a.m. But turns out Prince has been dead for the last 6 hours. He died of an overdose of fentanyl. After this information is found out, people are going crazy because people are wondering where he got the fentanyl from. There was video footage of him going inside of the Walgreens like the night before. Everybody is pretty much ripping out their hair trying to figure out what happened. So the police do an investigation, but at the end of it, nobody knows what happened. They don't know how Prince got this fentanyl. I'm not sure how Prince got this fentanyl, but I am almost for certain on April the 7th, when he canceled those 2 shows, Prince did not have the flu. Prince was going through withdrawals, opiate withdrawals that feel a lot like the flu. You basically go through flu symptoms when you have these withdrawals. So that is why he could not put on the show. I do feel like that doctor he went to see on the 7th probably did write him a prescription for pain medication, but it probably was not a lot. It was probably just to basically get Prince off of the withdrawals. And then sometime later on, a couple of days later, he goes through withdrawals again. And at this point, that doctor probably won't write him any more prescription pills. And of course, I'm speculating. This is just how I feel about the situation. But I feel like that doctor probably wouldn't write him anything else. So Prince had to find drugs another way. And so he got what he thought was Vicodin off of the streets from some doggone body, probably when he was riding that bike around everywhere. Because it looked like Vicodin, Prince probably took a lot of it because his tolerance was probably really high when it came to Vicodin and other opiates like that, okay? A really high tolerance where he probably could pop 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, who knows how many pills, okay? And would be just fine. But because it was not Vicodin and it was fentanyl, which is much more powerful than Vicodin, if he popped 5, 10 of those, that's it. Boom. That is the end. So I really do feel like Prince did an accidental overdose because he probably thought he was taking Vicodin, and the whole time the man was taking fentanyl. And whoever gave him that medication did not specify to him. Or if they did, Prince didn't listen. Who knows? We don't know. Like I said, the whole thing was just a speculation. I have no idea what truly happened when it came to Prince. All I can say is that on April the 21st, 2016, the world lost a musical genius and a legend. And I miss his music so much. But anyway, we are at the end of the old Hollywood scandalous tale for Prince Nelson Rogers. Like I said, sorry for the unconventionality when it came to this story, but baby, he was a hard one. A really hard one. But what I do want y'all to do, because y'all Prince fans, y'all probably got more tea than me, please put it in the comments, because I would definitely love to hear what y'all have to say when it comes to Prince and things about his life, especially the scandalous stuff, honey. Go ahead and like and subscribe to this video. I will be out with a video, I promise this time, because I'm not sick no more. I'll be out with a video very soon. Love you guys. Bye.